Garry Rodrigues just won't go away. Or at least, the claims he is heading to Newcastle this summer won't stop coming. I have written a few times, see below, about the constant coverage in Turkish media claiming that he is signing for NUFC, but even I am beginning to wonder. He is a player who has done very little before in his career, but this season has come good, albeit in the Turkish league. With 2 games to go of the season, Galatsaray and Garry Rodrigues are at the top, leading by 3 points from 2 other clubs, with the winger having an impressive 9 goals and 8 assists in 27 league starts, plus 4 sub-appearances. Friday morning sees Fanatic report that Newcastle will have representatives at the game on Saturday when Galatasaray host Yeni Malatyaspor, then we'll also have people watching a week later when they travel to Istanbul Başakşehir. Needing 4 points from 2 mid-table teams to make sure of the title, Galatasaray are odds-on to lift the title. The report also says that once the title is decided, they will then listen to offers for the player and begin talks to sell to the highest bidder. The amount of coverage in Turkey on this transfer story has been a bit mad, but no doubt we will shortly find out if on the off chance there is any substance to it. The 16th of February 2018, Matthew Robson writing on the mag, this Garry Rodrigues saga is taking on pantomime proportions. Only on Saturday I wrote an article, see below, about just how ridiculous it was that Newcastle were even being linked with the Galatasaray winger. The English, Newcastle United, media just blindly repeating the feeble daily updates from the Turkish media, who are just as desperate for attention, clicks as the UK media. The latest that is now being spread around is that Galatasaray have upped their price tag to €20 approximately £18 million, because of all the interest from so many top European clubs including Newcastle United, supposedly. Just look at the profile of Garry Rodrigues below and see whether it matches up to an £18 million price tag. On Friday night, Newcastle were supposedly set to have people to watch him. Galatasaray won 5-0 and Garry Rodrigues scored 1 and had 2 assists. However, it is such a poor level in Turkish league football, and to put it into perspective, Bafetimbi Gomis turns 33 this year and he hit a hat-trick in the game. Gomis has 20 goals in 21 league starts this season. He scored only 13 goals in 64 Premier League appearances for Swansea when at his peak. The mag, Saturday the 24th of February 2018, it is nothing new for Newcastle United to be linked with buying a player, whatever day of the year it is. Obviously it has slightly more credibility when something appears during an actual transfer window, although as this January showed, there is never a guarantee of Mike Ashley buying anybody even when the manager is desperate for players. Despite no buys in January, it hasn't prevented business as normal throughout February. Newspapers claiming Newcastle are set to sign a whole series of players, even though we are in the middle of a relegation fight, plus no certainty as to who will manage or even own Newcastle United once the summer transfer window arrives. With newspaper sales falling through the floor and increasing reliance put on online clicks, any kind of quality control has long left the building. Every transfer story is pretty much treated the same, gobbled up in just a case of repeating what the original story said, with pretty much no examination of how credible that source is. Neither is there even much of an examination, if any, of whether even the player is any good. Which brings me to Garry Rodrigues. Not a day goes by without an update, and it is doing my head in. There have been any number of claims, retrospectively, that Newcastle have put bids in for the player, all kinds of amounts mentioned up to £10 million. Then the player himself allegedly claims he wouldn't be sold for less than £15 million, or was that euros? It doesn't really matter to the newspapers anyway, they just repeat either. Newcastle have sent scouts to watch Garry Rodrigues in this game, and that contact has been made with Galatsaray by the Magpies for the player. His agent has met whoever the player wants the move and so on. So, who exactly is Garry Rodrigues? Well, I'm guessing you haven't got a clue what he looks like, what he plays like, and what exactly he has or hasn't done in his past career. Funny that none of this is ever bothered to be mentioned in these newspaper reports, exclusives. One thing to note as well, pretty much every single one of the exclusives updates comes from the Turkish media, who make the Sun look like a respected source. Garry Rodrigues, he is a winger who was born in Holland and turns 28. His age and the fact you had never heard of him before should already have the warning bells ringing. Later this year, he never made it as a young player and was getting on for 22 when eventually signed from amateur football by ADO Den Haag. Not selected to start a single game in the Dutch top tier, the winger was loaned out to Dordrecht in the second tier. Having not made it in Holland, Garry Rodrigues then dropped several levels when going to play domestic football in Bulgaria, moving for £250,000 to Levski Sofia, where Gabriel Oberton now is. A couple of decent seasons at that level, then saw La Liga Minnows Elche take a £500,000 punt on him in January 2014. After only making 21 La Liga starts and struggling, Elche then gave Rodrigues a free transfer in 2015 and he ended up in Greece with PAOK. At this very low level, Garry Rodrigues held his own and caught the eye of Galatasaray, who paid £3 million for him in January 2017. The Turkish league is better than the Greek one but still not great. Despite that, the winger only made 5 starts in the second half of last season, scoring 1 goal. This season he has done quite well, starting 18 league matches and coming off the bench in another 4, scoring 5 goals. However, if any of the newspapers running the stories had actually bothered analyzing Garry Rodrigues, there is absolutely nothing in his career profile that would suggest he could in any way be of use in the Premier League. Far less be worth anything like £15 million. Not good enough in Holland or Spain, and having an okay few seasons in Bulgarian, Greek and Turkish league football isn't a great clue as to somebody who turns 28 this year, going to be heading to Newcastle anytime soon. At international level, Garry Rodrigues chose to represent the Cape Verde Islands rather than Holland, and even then he struggled to get a game, only becoming a fairly regular starter recently. That then, is the story of Garry Rodrigues, and I will happily buy you all a pint when Rafa buys him this summer as the key player in his rebuilding program. To feature like Graham Porter, submit your article to via email protected, and or for more info go here.